Another gorgeous day here with the K24 swap, as you guys can see. All right, so real quick, basically continuing where we left off yesterday. What I did last night, I came out real quick because it was killing me. I unplugged the alternator part of the ECU here with these two, labeled them, and then I undid the knock sensor in the back right there, which is this connector, and I did the starter ones, guys. To get the starter one off, you actually have to loosen both of the starter studs and then get the ground on the top. So when you loosen the starter, you got to bring it down, because if you don't, there's a black pipe above the ground. It's going to be a pain in the balls. So we almost have this whole harness off. So the ultimate focus for today is we're going to get the rest of the harness off, get my axle shafts off, the driver's side and passenger side header unbolted, and the mount. So essentially hoping to pull this whole thing today, honestly. But since I'm leaving my AC compressor in, I need to remove my alternator. I'm not disconnecting my my AC compressor because I still have Freon in there and I don't want it going into the atmosphere. So 3 12mm bolts, the 2 on the bottom and then 1 on top there. I'll put the alternator on once the engine is bolted in so I can clear the AC compressor right here. Okay, you guys can see my little checklist on what I have. Next, I'm gonna do the coil packs on the top. Don't mind the music, guys, but we can kind of start pulling this harness out this way here. I'll leave it right there for right now. To remove this coil pack cover here so we can access our coil packs, and then we're gonna unplug this sensor right up at the top. And there is, okay, there's this tranny sensor right here to the left of the shift selector here. So I gotta try to get that unplugged, come underneath. Try to get it here. Okay, that's unplugged. Cover is off. There's the coil packs on top there. On the top of the coil packs, be sure to get those undone, and then we can take the whole coil pack assembly off. And before I get on to the next clip, you're gonna have your VTC, your oil sending unit. There's a sensor right there. You need to unplug that. And then if you look in the back here, it's kind of hard to see, but the VTEC solenoid, which is right there with the brown cover on it, there's a sensor on top of that that we need to unplug. 2 sensors on that we need to unplug, and then our crank sensor if you follow that black line below. Don't forget that there's a ground wire, guys, on the left side of the engine here where your motor mount is, your top motor mount. We're gonna go ahead and undo this because we're gonna need to take it off eventually, and I might have a little bit of clearance to get my hand in there. All right, guys, coming under the car here, passenger side, there's the crank sensor right there. So we'll just slide it right off of there. And then there's a bracket. There's one of those little green things I got, or clear when I got that off. So the crank is disconnected now. All we need to do is basically get these clips off. See that clear one right there? It's holding the wires in. We got 2 of those to get, but everything's coming along, guys. Let me fill you in on what the hell's going on here. So there's a sensor. It's kind of hard to see. So can barely see it, but it's literally right there, that thing. All right, guys, she is off. Literally took a long flathead screwdriver very carefully, and I pushed in on that sensor. You can kind of see where the tab is. It's the tab's in between the line, guys, the oil cooler line. I pushed in on it, pried down a little bit very gently, and it slid right off. Yes, sir. Pull the harness out of here, make sure no wires are wrapped up. And there we go, guys. There's all the wiring from the passenger side of the motor. This is the sensor I'm talking about right here, this thing. So whatever you do, try not to yank on it. All right, That's the one right there. So I gotta label everything. Have my crank sensor right here, obviously. VTEC spool valve sensors for the top, and then the other ones basically. Sensors are labeled. You could see VTEC spool, got the crank, VTC solenoid, and now I need to basically work back this way. Now I got to get this piece off right here, obviously, and then yeah, I think it's just held on by a bracket. I could start unplugging stuff up here, injector rail. I got the cam position sensors out right here. Now I need to worry about getting this big bulky section out. Millimeter with a bracket, but I need to open this up because I can't fit my extension antenna on that without it hitting this right here. So, all right guys, I fit my 10 millimeter in there. Pull this off to the side right now, but this is all free right here. All I need to do is basically get some of the sensors disconnected from here. Injector clips are off. The harness is ready to come out, guys. I got everything off for the harness right here, as you can see, all the sensors. So I just got to, I'm actually gonna remove this hose right here so that I can feed this basically through easier. Here, careful not to pull on any of your injector things, clips, and then we should be able to come right out through this way with this hose being off. I might actually take this other hose off too eventually, but we'll make do with what we have. And that's it, guys. Harness is coming out. Look at this, all off, guys. Everything's loose. You guys can see we have the full ECU wiring harness right here. So I'm gonna try to keep this thing in somewhat of an order because it's gonna be kind of a pain to put back into place. That's why I literally marked everything with painter's tape right here. So yeah, the harness is out. I'm about to wear this because I'm so happy right now. Make sure that the clutch line right here is folded down, so when I go to put the ECU back in, the wires go basically behind it. I don't want the wires going in front of it and stuff. And then we're going to support our shift linkage right here. We have some bungee cords, that clean wire tuck. We literally have no wiring except for the stuff on the right side here. So now what I can do is I'm gonna try to get my my header bolts off. You guys can see there's a stud there and there's a stud right over here. So I got about 5 header bolts that I need to take off right now. Once I get those off, I can work on the motor mounts. I'm gonna start with the top mount right here. Then I'm gonna work on the tranny mount, and then before you know it, I think this thing can get pulled out today. So we're making really, really good progress, guys. Working on the axles right now. Basically undo my ball joint down at the bottom here. I have I think these are 17 millimeters. I'm not 100% sure, but there's 3 of those. Once I disconnect these, I can angle this thing back. 17 millimeter lower ball joint on this side here. Pry the control arm, or should I say the ball joints. All right, guys, the ball joint, as you can see, is pretty much free. Now I'll be able to slide this thing over to the side. All right, let me bring you guys under real quick. So essentially what we need to do is, so the axle shaft on the passenger side is connected into a intermediate shaft, which is, let me show you guys. This is the intermediate shaft in the middle here, okay? We basically need to, let me get in closer. We need to hammer this corner right there. It's kind of hard to see, but we're literally right there gently to get the spline to come out from the intermediate shaft. And we should be good to go. Okay. All right, that side's out, guys. You guys can see. All right, I literally gave up on the other side, the other axle, but we got this one. This one is basically free. Well, it'll be free in a minute from the hub here. Okay. That's out. Driver's side out. I literally went right up in here, pried on this side, came back over here carefully, pried on that side. So I was able to get the axle out. So let's get the driver axle out, guys, carefully here. Driver's side axle is out, as you can see, and I'm not going to get into too much more detail for filming right now because I want to get this stuff done. All I really need to do is unbolt the header bolts in the back, lower the vehicle down a little bit, and everything will be ready to pull. I can start doing my motor mounts, transmission mount, front motor mount here, right here. So remove the side mount first, and then remove trans. Yup. Low mount, front mount. Just done doing a couple header things here. Got a couple bolts left. Top studs right here. Engine hoist on right here, obviously to the tranny point right there. And then I'm using this bracket right here. That's why I took the alternator and the idler out.